What a performance from Michael Penix in the Sugar Bowl. This dude is so good. I love watching him play, whether that's just, on TV or on film. He was sensational. Penix, 29 of 38, 430 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Washington offensively, 532 yards, and they led the time of possession, 36-23. This offense is sensational. Kalen DeBoer, their coach, is one of the best coaches in all of college football. I know a lot of people don't know that, but that's because a lot of people don't pay attention to Washington, right? Like, it's way up there. I get it. It's way up there in Seattle. I had brought up right before we voted for the Heisman Trophy that I thought it was a good discussion and debate, Michael Penix and Jayden Daniels. I think both of them were obviously exquisite, elite. They were tremendous. All of them, all the adjectives you want to throw on them. And I thought, that's a good debate. And you could tell those that didn't watch Washington outed themselves and just started saying like, no, this is like case closed for Jayden Daniels. Hey, you know what? He won, and good for him, and he was tremendous. But Penix, and he showed this in the Sugar Bowl, every bit the elite player in college football that I thought he was, which is why I thought it was a debate. He had to be great this year. Look at all the one-possession games. He is the catalyst of the offense. Okay, he didn't play on a 3-loss team that got to, stat pad at the end of the year. Like, this guy had to be great in the biggest moments of every single game because they don't have a lot of margin for error. I just went over the defensive stats in the last segment. Penix was fantastic. If you take a look at the quarterback matchup, McCarthy, he doesn't have to be great, but there are times when he plays really well. You see the passing yards obviously in favor of Penix, the touchdowns in favor of Penix, although the 22, I think, would surprise people. McCarthy's so efficient. Look at that, 73% completion percentage, only 4 interceptions, and then obviously the 3 rushing touchdowns for each of these guys. It's just a different requirement of what these guys have to do in their respective offenses. I want to take a look at Michael Penix because, and I've made this point before on this show and on other platforms, about how good of a passer he is. Not just thrower of the football, but passer. And to be a great passer, you got to pass with great leverage, timing and leverage, which means you take a 50-50 situation for your wide receiver and you create odds in his favor by leading him away from the defender. Let me take a look at some of the film and I'll show you exactly what I mean. And again, I've shown some of these plays before, but it just goes to reiterate how good of a player he is. You see, at this point when he's throwing the football, he's got a matchup that he likes. It's, kind of a 50-50 situation, but instead of leading the wide receiver towards a defender, he's going to take them away from the defense. And so you look at the ball placement now as we spin around, and look at that. It's away from the defense. So he took a 50-50 situation, and he created a 70-30 situation. 70% for his wide receiver, and Odunze is so good, and Polk is so good, and McMillan is so good. They're going to win those opportunities. It wasn't just Michigan State either. They didn't have a great team this year. It also was Oregon, who had a really good team this year. Take a look at what he's able to do here. First of all, he reads it so quickly. So he sees a sitting defender and he sees the 50-50 situation between his wide receiver and a defensive back. And he takes a 50-50 situation. What does he do? He creates a 70-30 situation with leverage down the field away from the defender. So even though the coverage is good, he's able to get the ball in a position where his wide receiver can make a play. Not the defender can make a play, but the offensive player can make a play. Here he's got Odunze. It's matched up. It's a minute 38 left. It's a game that they've got to have. They're down. And what does he do? He takes the matchup. He knows that the safety is on the near hash, though. So look at the trajectory that he's going to throw the ball with. It's a little flatter, so the ball gets there sooner. And where is it? High and away from the defense. Every time he's throwing the ball down the field. His downfield accuracy is so good, and it's in part because of that leverage that he throws with. So it's going to be important for them to get in situations where they can create those one-on-one scenarios. In every one of those scenarios, he had a one-on-one and exploited the one-on-one. But in order to do that, I believe that they're going to have to be able to run the football on first down and get Michigan out of their defensive structure, which generally comes out of a two-safety look. They were able to do this against Oregon, and it played out in a way that allowed them to have a lot of success on offense. Here's early in the game of the Pac-12 championship. Oregon wants to play with 2 safeties so that they can provide help over those great wide receivers. Well, that leaves the run box in terms of a light box. 4 down linemen, 1 linebacker. Everybody else widens out, and Washington was able to exploit that run box and run the football effectively, in particular early in the game. Those wide receivers, by the way, they do a great job getting downfield and blocking downfield in the secondary. It allows them to run the ball pretty well. We'll see how Dylan Johnson's injury is if he's able to run the football, but that's important because later in the game, what ends up happening is you get into these situations where you tighten up the set, you give them a run-oriented look, and now you're inviting a safety to come down. When you invite a safety to come down, you get the one-on-ones in the back end. So here you're going to get a one-on-one, and now McMillan is able to go right down the field, and what does he have? He has space to operate against a single safety, and now you can just throw him away from the defense, and for a guy like Michael Penix, you give him a step of separation, and that is wide open. So that's what they do on the offensive side. That's the terms of the game that they need to play. This team is really good throwing the football. Now, they've got to be great. I don't see a scenario in which they're not throwing the ball well, Penix is off, and they still win the game. They've got one path to victory, and that path is being elite, throwing the football. They might need to sprinkle in a turnover. They might need to sprinkle in a stop here or there. But that passing game is going to have to be incredible in order for them to win the national championship. This is a game that they are comfortable being in. Why? Because they've been underdogs before. They're 4.5-point underdogs. They were a 9.5-point underdog to Oregon. All right, so they keep proving everybody wrong, and yet as an undefeated, they are still underdogs. And I realize somebody has to be an underdog in this game, and I would favor Michigan as well. But Washington is not afraid of being an underdog because they've got a quarterback and a passing game and a wide receiver core that's elite, and they're going to have to be elite on Monday night in order to win the game. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.